marketing organization that strives to tread a path that promotes dependability and innovation in the industry. While employed by AT&T Interactive, owner of YT.com, for a decade, he gained valuable insight into the successful operations of North America's most prominent digital marketing agency. With $2 million in annual revenue, Chad benefited from the privilege and experience of early giants in the digital marketing industry, utilizing the firm's vast knowledge and resources to grow one of the most extensive digital advertising business books within the nationwide company. Please welcome Chad Lauer.
So, can everybody hear me? Yes. I usually walk along the stage, but I'm kind of hit with a little bit of adversity here because there's no mic, so I'm going to sit at the podium. So, even though I was introduced as a digital marketer, I'm here to talk to you guys about adversity as motivation. So, who here has dealt with something tough in their life? Raise your hand. Right? Every single hand went up, right? Every single hand went up, okay? So, I'm the child of an addict, right? Anybody here dealt with addiction? Or a family member dealt with addiction? Nearly every hand, right? Okay. My parents were divorced at 4. I was 4 years old, and I don't tell you that because divorce is a terrible thing. Many people deal with divorce in life, another adversity, right? But as a child of an addict, right, I have memories of my mother driving with me to sleep in the back seat until the sun came up to drop me off at preschool, right? Those are the things that a child of an addict deals with, right? Adversity. But it doesn't define us, right? So, as an adult, I often look through that child's eyes, okay? And I notice everybody stopped looking at their phone here, for the most part, because I know I'm connecting with you, because we all deal with adversity. So, that was my childhood was dealing with that and some of the tough things that happened there. Fast forward a little bit, and I love the sport of basketball. In fact, it was how my father, who was an addict, and I connected, is through sports, right? That was one of our bonds. And I kind of poured my pain into athletics, which I think many of us do. We find something to kind of compartmentalize the tough stuff that we're dealing with, right? So, it was January 11th, 2000, and I get a rebound, never forget it. I get a rebound in a basketball game, and I turn to pass the ball to my teammate, Calvin H. Henderson, who's in the junior varsity team, and he collapses on the basketball court, right? In front of everybody. January 11th, 2000. Okay? And I go home and I'm not sure what happened. Right? They made us leave. Okay? They were trying to resuscitate him and they made us leave. So I get home and my mother comes home and she says, Chad, Calvin didn't make it. Okay? So I'm 15 years old. Okay? One of my best friends who I just got a rebound for, tried to pass the ball to, died in front of everybody. Okay? So at the time, we wore these wristbands. And on that wristband we put 55. That was his number, right? We were going to dedicate everything we did to him. That's the only thing 15-year-old boys knew how to do, right? You guys have all seen it in different ways throughout throughout the community. You'll see it on jerseys or on shoes, right? Whatever. And it really bonded us. We came together as a group, but man, we couldn't get him back, right? So 2 years later, 17, my father passes away. That same person who I bonded with over sports. And his last words to me were, Chad, I'm going to get to see you score your 1,000th point. Right? Those were his last words to me. And what had happened was, again, I didn't know how to deal with that pain. So I would write DAD on my shoes, which is why I'm wearing these Spider-Man EJ1s up here, because it means something, right? So now I have 55 on my wristband, DAD on my shoes, right? And all I know how to do is go and play ball, right? That's where I poured my pain, okay? So I ended up getting a college scholarship to play basketball. Well, for track, I ended up transferring to play basketball. But senior year, I was a team captain at Susquehanna University. And all of a sudden in school, every other letter I couldn't read. Right? So I would see L-U-R. I would have severe headaches. Okay? I stopped being able to make a shot. I would lose my balance. Okay? And after a bunch of doctor's appointments, they finally said, Chad, you need to have an MRI. Okay? These severe headaches were super painful. I had no clue what was going on, but really, really, really weird things happened in my body. So, October 13th, can't make this stuff up. It was Friday the 13th, 2006, October 13th, 2006. And my mother and I were waiting in the waiting room, and the doctor comes out and says, Chad, you have a brain tumor. 21 years old. Right? He said, you have a lesion on your cerebellum. We don't know if it's cancerous. We don't know if it's benign. But we need to admit you. Okay? That was a tough night. So, the interesting thing about when you hear something like that, and I'm sure some of you have had scary medical things happen to you as I look throughout the audience, is I spent that night in the hospital by myself because my family left to get clothes, and I think they were processing that. Right? So 21 years old, you know, I lost my father, I lost my best friend. Dealt with really tough stuff before, but we're all selfish in nature. And I'm sitting here thinking, am I going to live? Right? Am I actually going to live? That's the thought that's going through your head. Okay? Long story short, a surgeon walked into the room, and this dude had swagger. I mean, he walked in with swagger. And he was a former pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. His name was Dr. Scott Martin. He looked me in the eyes and he said, Chad, I can get this tumor. I can do surgery, and I know I can get this tumor. Whether it's cancerous or benign is essentially going to determine your fate. Right? Like, those were the words that he said to me. So we went into it. I put my game face on. Right? Put my game face on because that's the only thing that I knew how to do. And the tumor was benign. So I felt like I got a second shot at life, right? But an interesting thing happened. That day, that particular day, you know, it's funny, my wife is in the audience here. She was studying abroad, and she flew home from Ecuador while I was in the hospital. I woke up and she was there, which was just crazy. But, so, after the surgery, I went back into the gym to watch my teammates play, right? And I had a cap on my head. And when I walked back into the gym, this day changed my life forever. And I hope you guys can relate to this, because again, everybody raised their hands. I walked back into the gym, and the wristbands had 22 on them. The double deuces, right? That day changed my life forever. And the reason why is I had the 55 on my wristband and Calvin was not here anymore. I had the DAD on my shoes and he was not here anymore. But I had the privilege to walk back into a gym and I was still here, right? I was still here. So, that doesn't mean life is perfect, right? It doesn't mean I don't have bad days, right? It just means that I need to use that adversity as motivation. And motivation to do good in the world, right? Now, the interesting thing about this is it was just getting started. 2 years later, they said, why did this 21-year-old have a brain tumor? I was diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder called von Hippel-Lindau, 1 in 91,000. Okay. So, the interesting thing about science is it's moving so fast. The AI presenter was just fabulous, and we're learning about the positives of it. But genetic testing was happening for years and years and years. But they were able to identify through that brain tumor that I had this rare genetic disorder. And they said, Chad, you need to get full body scans essentially for the rest of your life to ensure if something happens that we catch it soon enough. Okay? So, 2011, I was at my nephew's first communion. I believe it was his first communion. And I saw the phone ring, and I knew immediately who was calling and why. Because when you get scans, right, if they're good, you don't hear from anybody. Right? If they're good, you don't hear from anybody. My phone is ringing, and I looked at my wife, I said, I don't even know if I want to answer this, but I got a voicemail. And it was our physician. He said, Chad, this is, I don't know if he said anything, but essentially, you have a lesion on your right kidney. Now, your kidneys are the one place with von Hippel-Lindau where we know that the tumors are cancerous. Okay. So, now it's like we're back in the saddle, right? Got to put my game face back on. Long story short, we go to the Fox Chase Cancer Center right down the street here, and we met Dr. Robert Uzo, who's the CEO now, and he looked me in the eye and he said, Chad, here's what we do. We watch, and we wait until this tumor hits 3 centimeters, then we'll do surgery to resect it. It's called resetting the clock, right? So I now know I have a cancerous tumor, and I have to let it in my body until it gets to a certain size, right? And the interesting thing about that is, I don't know, has anybody here ever dealt with anxiety or like a panic attack? Let everybody, right? That was almost the hardest part, right? Is I would have these severe panic attacks and anxiety. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Sorry. This thing's just playing. Adversity, right? Not working. Anyway. It's not going anywhere. It's just
We can move from here. Do you want to go forward to backwards?
all the way back. Thank you. So, 2013, they said, hey, it's 3 centimeters, it's go time. Kidney tumors are removed, move on with my life, right? I have to compartmentalize that part of my life. 1 year later, I get another scan, they said, Chad, you have a tumor in your left kidney. 1 year after getting the right side removed. Right? We're going to watch it, we're going to see if it gets to 3 centimeters, we're going to resect it again. 2015, Chad, tumors reached 3 centimeters. My wife is pregnant with our first child. I never let her leave the room, but she's here laying next to me. I'm like, you cannot leave this room. But all I wanted to do was meet this child, right? I grew up without a dad. I grew up without those experiences of, those bonds and dealt with some of that really, really tough stuff. I just wanted to be a dad. I just wanted to live a normal life, right? Just ordinary. Let's go out to dinner tonight, right? I don't want to do anything special. I didn't think about speaking on this stage. I literally just wanted to go to dinner and hang out. That's it, right? So that's all I can think about. 2015, luckily, surgery as well. Remove the left knee. 2016, we're on vacation, Bethany Beach. I feel terrible. Go to the doctor, get checked out. They're like, Chad, your cancer has metastasized. We're gonna send you to Penn to figure out how this happened so quickly because you just had a great result. Okay? Again, when you have on the lid out, everything is a panic. So, long story short, they said, Chad, it didn't metastasize, you have mono. So again, false alarm. Part of the game when you have a rare case disorder. 2017, I was diagnosed with a couple other spinal tumors, just a normal part of the bone growth process. Dealt with it. COVID hit, and we delayed the scan a little bit. So post-COVID, it was December 2021. I get my normal scans. Meet with the doctors, and they say, Chad, we found 2 new brain tumors. One is essentially inoperable. We can't do the surgery to remove it without risking significant damage. Or possibly worse. So it's one thing to cut me open, get the tumors out, I'll be okay, right? But now this is a little bit different, right? So they gave us a few options. One was radiation. One was radiation. It had a 78% rate of success. Pretty good, right? Unless it's you here in the news, because you're thinking, hey, 1 in 5, 22%, I may not be this way. The other was a drug called Lauer, and it took us a really long time to figure out which option to choose. But I ended up trying this new drug. It was just approved by the FDA in August of 2021. And as I stand here and talk to you today, all of my tumors have shrunk. I'm also here to talk to you guys about you and not me. Right? I use my story to encourage all of you to use your adversity as motivation. Right? I don't think we should compare what you're going through or what you're going through and to see if it's harder than what I've gone through. Right? I think we need to encourage the heck out of each other because we know we're all in it together, right? We know every single one of us has those demons or those things that are really a part of our background that we need to use to encourage other people and lift up other people, right? Because that's what makes the world great. So adversity as motivation, okay? I can sit up here and I could have used all of these things as excuses. And everybody probably be like, it's all right. It's a legitimate excuse, right? I could have said, woe is me. I used it as motivation. Right? I used it as therapy. I used it as a way to make a difference. I scored 1,000 points in high school. My dad asked me, was he going to get to see it? He was not there, but I did. Right? Division I scholarship was a goal of mine. I accomplished it while losing my best friend, while losing my father. Right? I wanted to go to college and actually play. I did that. Right? I led the team while I had a brain tumor that literally I couldn't even read. Right? I couldn't read. Severe headaches. But I still did it. Right? I worked at AT&T and YellowPages.com was the top rep out of 5,000 reps in the country. Why? Why do you think that is? Because I didn't show up and waste the day, right? I showed up and said, let's get after it, right? Let's get after it, okay? I have 4 beautiful children and a wife. We only fight sometimes, but that's life, right? There's adversity in our relationships, and every single one of them. It's part of our life. It doesn't mean we give up, right? I started Lauer Media in 2018, and to be honest, if I didn't go through those things, I think that I would still be at my old job. And I know every one of you in here, and some of you love the notary gig, you've got a little side hustle, right? Right? Don't be afraid. If you can get your job back that you're just relying on to prevent you from chasing your dream, I ask everybody that. If you left today and you went all in, could you get your job that you have back today? And if they tell you yes, let's go. Right? Let's go. I started an hour podcast where I tell other people's stories of adversity and motivation, and we have over 200,000 downloads. Right? And I have a bunch of other little businesses and things that I'm involved in. But again, my message to all of you is to use your adversity as motivation to do good, accomplish your goals, and don't give up. Okay? Now, we're going to go forward, please. Keep going. Okay. What's in it for you? Right? So, it's so cool to see the interactions that I've seen last night and today. Opportunities for notaries to network here in person. But I'm here to talk to you that this conference is about empowering notaries in the digital era. Right? So how do we motivate you all to accomplish your goals? And I think first we challenge our assumptions. Right? When I go into a room, most people don't think that I have that background that I just explained to you. Right? We automatically inherently assume things about people. Right? And we also do that ourselves to try to limit what's possible. Right? Code is in the audience here. Code works for media. He has nearly 20,000 LinkedIn followers. Right? And I used to kind of argue with him in the beginning. I'd say, hey, I don't think I need to be on LinkedIn. Right? And boy, was I wrong. Right? I was wrong. So because I didn't believe in that power. And I own a digital marketing business. I'm being very straightforward, right? So go ahead to the next slide, please. So why network online? 1, gain clients. 2, stay updated on the best practices in your industry. And 3, expand your professional reach. Okay, go ahead. Your network is your net worth. Who's heard that before? Anybody? Right. Your network is your net worth. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Raise your hand if you're promoting your notary business online. Okay. So about half, okay? I would like to get that to everybody, right? There's a huge opportunity out there, and this is not going away, right? This is not going away. Social media is here to stay, and you can really connect and grow your business on social media. Go ahead. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to be a master of all of them, right? There are tools that you can use to kind of connect to any of them, but sometimes you might want to just go all in with one of them, right? But there's a huge opportunity out there to grow your personal brand and grow your business on these social platforms. Go ahead. One more, please. So there's 1 billion LinkedIn users. Anybody know that? 1 billion. Okay. Go ahead, next. 58.4 million businesses on LinkedIn. 58.4 million. Go ahead. Okay. So it's funny, Teresa said, I believe it was Teresa, said last night, don't pitch slap people. Right? She just said that last night. Right? That's what she said. We can't go on there and pitch slap. So Cody uses that often, but on social media, you have to be a thought leader. Okay? I have a rule of thumb that is 80% educate, 20% offer. Okay, so 80% educate means you need to go and create content that's enticing for folks that are in your target market where they can learn something new. What's in it for them? Right? It can't be I'm the greatest notary in the world. Look at me, I'm the greatest notary in the world. Right? That doesn't work, right? It has to be what's in it for them, the value of working for you, what makes you different, did you know? Then slip in a 20% offer, right? But we need to educate on what's in it for our audience, okay? And that's how we become thought leaders. Go ahead. Okay. So how to thrive in the digital era. SEO, search engine optimization, that's where somebody types in notary near me. AJ touched on this a little bit. Google Ads, that's where somebody types in notary near me. You make sure you come up. Social media, we just touched on it. Review generation, and LinkedIn. Okay? Those are the ways that you can thrive and get your notary to the next level. Go ahead. Okay. So, we're going to play a little game here. Has anybody here heard of Notaries.com?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a little third-party tool that we use at Lauer. So the value of the digital era and the notary business. So if you look here on the right side, Notaries.com is spending an estimated $31,420 on Google Ads per month. Say it again. 31. Go back one, please. Forward one. Oh, I guess I'll go forward one. I'm sorry. There we go. Okay. So, who knew these numbers? The local notary service market size is worth 4.5. It will be estimated worth 4.5 billion by 2030. Did you guys know that's how big this is? That is a massive market. Massive. Right? And I think sometimes we think of the industry as just this little, small niche. I got this area, you got this area, right? But the power of digital marketing and those numbers are absolutely huge, right? So how do we capture that? We capture it by doing all of the above. If you could just go back to one more. Okay. So we went through SEO, you went through Google Ads, you went through social media, right? We can also do outreach for realtors, right? Title agents, real estate agents, right? To create relationships with them too. And there's really not a limit. Nobody's going to tell you, hey, you can only work with one. Right? Nobody's going to say, hey, you can only work with two. Right? Go all in, capture the market share, because we confirmed it's massive, right? And if you want to make this your thing, make it your thing. Right? Any questions? Go ahead.
That $3.5 billion, I noticed you put USD, which means US dollar.
Yes.
Market, are you just referring to real estate related or just any mobile
No,
notary?
that was pulled from the third party there. That's the mobile notary market. What else? Any other questions?
Are we reaching out to these B2B clients? How are we reaching out to them?
So that's a great question.
Hey, Jack, can you repeat the questions for the people?
Yes, she had asked, how do we reach out to them? I'm not here to promote my business, but we do that on behalf of our clients, right? So essentially, as I mentioned in my personal background, you would literally cold call them or DM them on LinkedIn, right? So if you connect with them on LinkedIn, hey, I'm in your area, this is what I do, I'd love to meet for coffee, whatever, but try to reach out to them to build that relationship. And again, if you're educating them, they're going to follow that content and they're going to be like, okay, I've seen this person, multiple times, before. I'm just kidding. Hey, can I work with you? So that's a great question. But yeah, there are services out there that will reach out on your behalf to try to, connect you with them too. Great question. Any other questions? All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.